Cool, how's it going? Good to see everyone. Thanks for having me here. My name's Calico. Tavish is my full name, but I go by Tav a lot. If you would like, you can go ahead and follow me on all the social media networks. It's all at Tav Calico. On Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and Dribble. Yeah. I wish I had a cool accent like Dean Bradshaw, because I might be a little more interesting. But unfortunately, I don't, so just bear with me. This is my first time giving a speech at a design conference, and I feel a little out of my element. I'm not sure if I was asked here because I'm qualified to speak at something like this, or because my name is pretty much an anagram of the name of the conference. But either way, I'm pretty happy to be here and definitely humbled by the opportunity. So yeah, I'm a designer based in North County, San Diego, in a town called Encinitas. I just live right up the road from the Nixon headquarters on Coast Highway, and I work with individuals and companies of all sizes to help give them unique design solutions and to help make their companies attractive. And here's a quick sample, hopefully this works, of a little sample of some of my work. So. Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, so a little bit about myself. My design story, I guess, starts back in 2007. I'd been living in New Zealand for a little while, and for a couple of years, and I was moving back home. And I had a good friend who's kind of like my older brother, who started designing back in '97, I think, when like Photoshop 2 was out or something like that. And I'd always looked up to him like a brother, and he's one of the most talented artists I've ever met. And before I left to New Zealand, I remember talking to him a little bit about digital design and how that worked, and it seemed like something that was pretty interesting to me. I always grew up kind of as an art nerd through school, going to art contests and different things like that, so. It was something that was really interesting to me. And so when I returned home, I went to his office where he was working out of as a freelance designer, and just basically started picking his brain about design and how it works. And he was awesome and took me under his wing. He was my design Yoda, and really helped me to kind of get started. He put me in a room in his office in the back and gave me these videos. I think it's like the total something. I don't know. Anyways, total something on Creative Suite, on how to learn how to do design and different things like that. I remember watching like InDesign videos, how that works, and I actually started trying to create logos in InDesign because I had no concept of what these programs were for. I wasn't a big computer savvy person before that, and so I was really into it, and I took a leap and asked my parents to co-sign on a loan for me because I didn't have any money or a job after I got home, and bought my first laptop and started working super hard to try and learn, and eventually, after a few months, got my first job at a grand format print shop in the town where I grew up, which is St. George, Utah, southwest corner, if you've heard of Zion National Park. That's where I'm from. And so I started working there, and it was a really cool opportunity. I was basically just thrown into the fire, and had no idea what I was doing, but I totally just faked it until I made it with them, and started learning. Worked there for a couple years. It was an amazing opportunity, and some great people. After that, in 2008, I got married to my beautiful wife, Amy, who's here in the back. And you can raise your hand if you want, Ames. And then in early 2009, I know it says 2008, but in early 2009, I left that print shop and started working with a company called Company, a wakeboard company, and there's a little bit of work there in that quick video. And again, another situation where I was completely just out of my element and was given jobs and different things, different tasks that were way above my knowledge base, and I had no idea how to do it, but just had to work hard to figure it out. And that was a pretty full-on job, a lot to do, a lot that was required of me, and it was amazing. Just stretched me in ways that were essential to, my foundation, and was able to do some really cool and fun work and loved my time there. And then in 2011, I went and helped this startup get off the ground and worked with them for about 9 months. And then I started having kind of these, I came to a crossroads, I guess, for myself personally in a lot of areas, as well as with design. And, felt like I needed a change. Felt like I needed to get out of St. George. If any of you have been there, you'll know it's not a big place. I think there's 100,000 people, pretty small town, and as far as design goes, it's not the best place to be, to say the least. So me and my wife, we took a leap, and we moved here to San Diego, to Encinitas. And I just have to say, it was probably one of the best things ever. I think that continually I've kind of just been uncomfortable, and becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I believe that creativity comes from constraint. And so we moved to Encinitas, and all I wanted to do was go surfing every day. And I kind of did that. But at the same time, we left Utah and moved here and tripled our cost of living overnight, and neither of us had jobs, and we had no idea what we were doing. So after a few weeks, we were just, we thought, well, did we do something? What are we doing? Did we make the wrong decision? But it forced us to, work hard, to get creative. And for me personally, it just pushed me, to really make something of myself and bring more opportunities to for my design career. And it's been awesome. It's been the best thing that could have happened, and I feel like I've grown leaps and bounds just in the last couple of years since I've been here. I've had the chance to work with some really great companies, some big companies that maybe some of you have heard of, and do some really cool jobs, as well as a lot of companies that I'm pretty sure most of you haven't heard of. And I've kind of learned that I love working with small companies. But I think that again, I kind of, after a while of doing all this client work and working hard just to make money, to survive, to pay rent, and do all these things, I had another conflict within myself, because it's like, we're all designers or developers or creatives because we love what we do and we like to express ourselves through art or creating, and that's how I felt. And at the same time, I had this conflict of, well, I need to make money doing this. I would love to just go out and do whatever, like really rad artwork that I love, that means a lot to me. And there are those people that are doing that are making a career out of it, and I tip my hat to them, because that's hard to do, hard to make a career out of that, I think, at least with my experience. So, I was like, man, I really just want to create stuff that means a lot to me, that is, expresses who I am. But at the same time, I have to fulfill the demands of my clients and their needs, and I just felt like I couldn't continue to do that forever. I would get too burnt out too quickly, So I kind of came to this crossroads, thought, who am I? Am I this designer, or am I just, am I the chameleon designer that's just going to fulfill every need of my client, or am I going to, try and become one of those designers that's hired because I have a specific style, or I create art a certain way, and that's why they hire me. And I realized that the way around this is to make every job, every project, even client projects, meaningful to myself. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today, is making it meaningful, both for you and for your client, and speaking about branding and about illustration within design, like it says on the program. And I'm going to use an example of a company that I'm working with recently. They're called Straight. They make wooden skateboard decks. And these guys are really cool. It's been a fun project. I mean, right now we're literally in the middle of sort of rolling out this rebranding situation for them and trying to give them a new image and a facelift, as well as just keeping up with the pace of everything because they're growing pretty quickly, which is fun. So with Straight, it was pretty cool. I guess this all came about through Instagram. I love using Instagram, so if you have it, go ahead and follow me. I'll probably follow you back. It was really cool. I reached out to them. I saw I don't know how, I saw a photo of them that they posted on a board, about a board or something that they had carved. I saw it on Instagram, and I saw that they're from Vista in North County, and so they were close. So I just reached out to them, and it was really selfish, actually. All I wanted to do was see a design of mine on carved into a wooden skateboard, because I thought that would be cool. I didn't really expect it to go much further than that. But it turns out that they liked what I did, and we had a cool relationship. I met the owner. His name's Gabe, and little did I know that they really just started about a month before I got a hold of them. They kind of just rolled out their first board and kind of pushed things along, and I reached out to them. So I got in early, and so it was a good position for me. We've grown together, and so we're at this phase now where they're starting to get some better exposure. Instagram recently did a feature on them, and really helped to kind of get their name out there. So we kind of want to make it, a little bit more legitimate. And so this is the board that I'm talking about, that the first project that I kind of worked on with them. I brought the board here, so this is just the RAM design, I guess is what we call it. And so, this was really just kind of an expression of something that I wanted to design for them. When I talked to them, it was, up to me, basically, what I wanted to design. And I actually got to go in and actually build the board myself. So these are photos of me actually working on the board. Every single one of these skateboards is handmade. From cutting the shape out, they print it similar to like a screen printing process. And then it's actually hand sandblasted, the design is. Painted, routering the edges, sanding it, all of it. It's a pretty full-on process, really cool, and it was super fun. And I really, I'm stoked on how the board turned out. I hang it on my wall, and it's something that I really cherish. So when working with clients, I'm going to kind of just jump in. When working with a client, I believe that one of the most important things you can do is have communication, as well as collaborate with your clients. And it says to communicate and collaborate with your clients and people you look up to. I've, over the years, have met some people, some other designers that I really look up to and admire their work. And I try and keep this tight little network. Like all day when I'm on my computer, I'm using iChat or iMessages, whatever it's called now. And if I'm working on a project, I'll always just send little screenshots to those people and kind of get their feedback. And we're fortunate now we have things like Dribbble where you can do that, and that's been a very useful resource as well. But I think just as importantly, sometimes in the past maybe I've overlooked the fact that the client has some really good points to bring into it. It's their company, it was their idea to begin with. A lot of times they do have a clear direction of what they want for their company and what they want to see out of it. And in the past maybe I've been a little too stubborn or prideful to think that they have any good input because, hey, I'm the designer, I'm the creative one, blah, blah, blah. But I've realized that the more communication I have, and the more I collaborate with my clients, the more meaningful the brand becomes, not only for myself, but for them and for their end consumer as well. And so when working with Gabe, with this company, with any other person or company that I work with, I try to help them establish a mission statement for their brand and some values as well. And so Gabe and I work together to kind of harness the overall idea of what straight is. And Gabe initially wrote this, and I kind of helped him fine-tune it. But what he says is, straight is an advocate for the creative lifestyle. We embrace the balance of cultures through innovative hand-carved skateboards and a focus on design-driven goods. And so with Gabe, this means a lot to him because Gabe comes from a family with a lot of different cultures that have married into his family. His grandfather is American Indian descent, has Hispanic and Polynesian in his family, Caucasian, and they're a really tight-knit family. They all live close to each other and are together every day, and they actually work together as well. And so Gabe, he's very influenced by all these different cultures. And so that's something that we really kind of wanted to pull in and really, have shown through the brand, through the design, and through the product design as well. A few values that we came up with too is to be bold, to be detail-oriented, handcrafted, and be natural. The boards, they're made of wood, they're all made by hand, so we wanted to kind of convey that. To be heartfelt and convey a sense of emotion through the design, and to be youthful and to have fun. So those are things that we always try to keep in mind when designing anything for the brand. Another thing when designing, I believe, especially with brands, is to always ask why. I believe that design with purpose is good design. If you have a reason for decisions you've made within the brand, within the design, it gives it a little more weight and it validates it a little bit more. And I feel like people, they can feel that, the end consumer, without really knowing why they might be able to feel that. So we always go back and, for myself personally, I always ask why. Why are we going to make these decisions? Why are we using these colors? Why is this what the logo looks like? Why is this what it says? Things like that. And we go back to the mission statement and the values, things like that. And so with Gabe and with Straight, the thing that really stood out to us is to embrace the balance of cultures. Gabe looks up to his grandfather so much, and he's an awesome guy. And, he's comes from that American Indian descent, and they created this board that is their #1 seller. I think they call it Skates with Wolves or something like that. And so in spite of these things, when designing this new updated logo, we kind of wanted to pull little bits from all these things and try and, really show that culture aspect. And we don't have to get really deep, I don't think, with stuff. Sometimes it can just be very much on the surface. And just to have fun, be bold and simple, and be youthful. And so when we designed this new logo, this is what we came up with. The arrow is kind of like that point of the American Indian culture, and it's just very simple, straightforward, and easy, and it's usable too on a design aspect, so it's kind of fun that way. Working with colors, kind of pulling in some thoughts of, like the turquoise with that American Indian culture, and like red sand and stuff like that. We wanted to kind of have a fun, unique color palette to work with. And that's something that's always, on our mind, is to always have fun, always explore new ideas. I haven't shown here, but, we worked through tons of options and came up to that, and we're really happy with it. It's different designs and illustrations. And one thing that I always want to talk about too is don't have an ego. Pretty much don't be a dick. I feel like I mentioned before that, sometimes I think that as a designer or a creative, I've had an ego where I feel like, hey, I know what's best. You hired me because of what I do, so you should listen to me. And I've learned that that's one of the biggest mistakes that you can make. Like I said again, it's the client's company, it was their idea originally, so listen to them. Be open to options. Another thing is to just keep learning and, keep pushing yourself. I think that we're all in the same boat. The more I realize and learn about other designers out there, even some of the most well-known ones, they're always learning. No designer knows everything about design or everything, Everyone's learning, and so just remember that, to keep pushing yourself. And the last point is just to repeat that with every job. To keep pushing yourself, to communicate with your clients, to make it meaningful to yourself and to your clients, and to have a good time with it all, have fun. And I believe that if we do these things, if we really try to incorporate those things for myself, I've learned that it does make it meaningful to me, makes it meaningful to my clients, and it helps to create better branding all around. Yeah, that's all I have for today. So, thanks. All right. And yeah, I think we're gonna have some Q&A. So.
Hey, great talk.
Thanks.
I'm just curious about the board, if like the grip is important at all, and if that influenced the design.
Yeah, for sure. So when designing this board particularly, it's designed from an aesthetic point of view and functional for sure. There's actually a lot of things that kind of go into the thought with this particular board. The grip is actually created from the etching. There's no grip tape or any thing like that. So it actually works really well. I have another smaller deck that I actually cruise around my neighborhood and cruise up to the ocean to check the waves and stuff, and works perfect. It's really grippy. Also, it's all hand done, and they're getting a lot more orders. And so when we design, we have to think through how do we cut out time. Not only can it look cool, but how can they make it the quickest and still get a lot of equity out of that design and make it feel substantial and really rad at the same time, So those are all thoughts that we have to think of when designing, for sure.
You mentioned time and being economical about the time. What's the average time it takes to build a board?
To build a board? It's getting quicker. When I did that the first time, went through, they were still really new. And I mean, we probably took 2 hours to do the one board. But now I think they've got it down to where blasting time, we try to keep it under 20 minutes for the blasting. They're getting quicker, and now we batch process with the printing and creating all the screens and stuff like that, where that kind of helps, and to be able to reuse across shapes and sizes. So, yeah.
Great talk, man.
Thanks.
I really enjoyed your work. I noticed a lot of your clients were similar, like lifestyle brands and like some pretty hip,
For sure.
Hip stuff. How did you manage to sort of get that momentum to like continue getting super rad clients like that? Like, just worked out, or?
I feel lucky for sure, and I think a lot of it had to do with in the beginning working with like company wakeboards. I met some really cool people. I was able to collaborate on projects with Nike 6.0. With Vans, some different people like that, and I think that for myself, I love talking to people, meeting new people, networking, getting your name out there. I feel like that does a lot for you. You know what I'm saying? If I ever have the opportunity to meet my clients face to face, I'll take it. Sometimes they live across the other side of the country, but it's always something worth mentioning. Hey, I'd love to fly out there and meet you guys, talk to you. I feel like there's a lot more weight in speaking face to face. And so, networking and referrals, basically, you meet someone that's cool, that's doing something really rad, you impress them, they'll talk to other people that they know that are doing things, and I feel like that's kind of how it's worked for me.
Sounds like the philosophy is about keeping the client happy and listening to the client, so it sounds like it's worked out for you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. Appreciate that. Anyone else?
So in the spirit of keeping a client happy, have you ever had an incident where you weren't able to keep the client happy?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe for myself, it's, if I'm trying to just do something that I feel is appropriate and they're not stoked on it, then I kind of have to readjust. I don't think, and with myself, obviously, it's a learning phase, a learning process, keep growing. But up to this point, I haven't been able to, every job, either make myself happy or the client happy or both of us happy. Sometimes it is one or the other. As long as it's not every job where you're compromising, I think that for myself anyways, it's helped to keep me stoked on design and wanting to just keep working hard, also making a job, so.
Anyone else have a question? Cool. Thanks,
Cool.
Tav.
All right. Thanks, guys.